Last broadcast repeats. Threat level Omega. Object on collision vector. Total station loss expected. Last broadcast repeats. Threat level Omega. Object on collision vector. Total station loss expected. Threat alert cancelled. All hands take off your helmets. Breathe in. Braytech scan failed. Your gear's out of order. Central power switched. Vesper Station.
Then you can use XP updates used to take hours to install, but since I've switched to Linux, updates are installed in a matter of minutes.
So, this is the fire department for Los Angeles.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire. You want to see...
There ain't no way, she said.
You couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Yeah, it's your job. They blame you for being on fire. This is the assistant chief of the fire. Oh my God. How does this happen? Man, you must have fucked up, huh? You fucking moron. See you later. Okay, can we agree it's not this person's fault that LA is burning, though? It's not, but when you create an organization that systematically values things that don't improve public safety, if they're making bad decisions like this on hiring chiefs, imagine how they're making decisions for making things safe ahead of time. I feel like this is a very reasonable way to look at it.
You couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
I reviewed No Backup Plans way back when they first got buffed, or I guess most recently got buffed, and I thought they were fine, but nothing that remarkable. It should not surprise you to hear that this shotgun did very little to change my opinion of No Backup Plans, nor did No Backup Plans drastically make my experience with this shotgun better. The spreading pellets, they're not too bad. For the most part, this extra damage that comes out is notable on enemies, and if there are enemies within a certain area of where you're shooting, preferably the enemies will be behind the target that you are shooting, they will do a pretty good job of trying to seek out those targets, potentially weakening them as well, if not outright killing them. But it is something that I think you should try to just let happen in the background of your gameplay, as opposed to trying to hunt down the perfect opportunity to shoot the gun. If you only just wait for the perfect moments only, you'll almost never use this thing. But if you notice there's a big enemy and then a few smaller enemies behind it, try to maneuver yourself to make the most of it. Also, be careful because you can accidentally weaken yourself with this weapon. In low to mid-tier content, I'm talking your Onslaughts, your Tomb of Elders, stuff in the 0 to -10, maybe -15 power level difficulty range. This thing is quite a lot of fun. It's very effective. It hits super hard, especially when it's surged or overcharged, whatever, which it was for me quite a lot. It's taken out some bigger, tougher enemies. I'm talking Colossus in like 1 or 2 hits. It's spreading weakness basically everywhere, although one could argue that if you're already dominating that hard, weaken isn't that crucial to your experience. Any activity with a lot of enemies is going to really feel the pain from the scattering pellet spread as well, but pretty much everything works in this difficulty range. That being said, I do think this shotgun and any of the builds that might go with it are probably the most fun and effective in this kind of content. When moving up the ladder, I'm talking stuff -10, -15, maybe you're pushing it -20, then things get a little more dicey. The weapon is effective, but it's as effective as a shotgun can reasonably be in this kind of content. It just depends on the content. If you're in some close quarters areas where a shotgun can really shine, great. Bay of Drowned Wishes Lost Sector, not great for this shotgun. Really not that great. Other Lost Sectors, maybe a little bit better for the shotgun. The reason I would pick this weapon over other weapons, maybe a little not great. Really shine, great. Bay of Drowned Wishes Lost Sector, not great for this shotgun. Really not that great. Other Lost Sectors, maybe a little bit better for the shotgun. The reason I would pick this weapon over other weapons at this point is mainly for matching surges, on top of champion needs, on top of, is this place going to let me effectively use this weapon? It is not something that I'm just throwing on without a second thought. That being said, the overload portion at the moment is broken. It will stun champions, but it will not stop their health from regenerating. So just waiting on a fix for that. The true test is always a Grandmaster Nightfall. And, at least with the no backup plans setup, I'm not really looking to use this setup in a GM, again, unless the content calls for it. In looking at the available GMs for episode 2, I would say that less than half were ones where I think this could even be an effective weapon. Like, look at the Corrupted. It is a giant hallway of danger where it's very difficult to get close to anything at all, save for the elevator section. So not only is getting into shotgun range inherently risky most of the time anyway, in the Corrupted, it's a very infrequent occurrence. This same logic applies to a lot of other GMs. Then, of the GMs that did have some shotgun viability, I'm still not in that much of a hurry to use something like a no backup plans build, or even this shotgun in general. Example, Hive Battleground Moon has some opportunities to get up close to enemies in most of the strike. But overshields aren't strong enough to let you just walk around and do whatever you want. You still need to plan your attack route, and even then, you're still incredibly susceptible to attack. And for the average player, a shotgun is typically not conducive to an effective loadout in a GM. Hell, it's not really conducive for me. People are just going to throw on a rocket sidearm and call it a day. For those looking to purely min-max their experience as much as possible, only looking for the best builds and the best loadouts, I present to you Consecration Titan. My team, no communication. We're clearing the first section of this GM in 2 minutes. Compare that to the no backup plans footage, and, well, it's not even really a discussion. As for any other content, raids, what have you, the only reason I would bring this is for a very specific circumstance, whatever that happens to be. The weaken is nice, but most teams are already going to have some kind of a weaken effect, and even if they don't, I'm not sure this is worth bringing solely for the weaken effect, especially since you need to kill something else first and then hit your target with it, which isn't always possible, especially in a boss fight. This thing also comes with 4 catalyst hit, which isn't always possible, especially in a boss fight. And then hit your target with it, which isn't always possible, especially in a boss fight. This thing also comes with 4 catalyst options: Repulsor Brace, Cascade Point, Stats for All, and Loose Change. Which catalyst should you go for? Let's start with Cascade Point, because it seems like the go-to, right? Like, Cascade on a shotgun seems like it would go crazy, and to an extent, it does. But I'm not the biggest fan. In order to get the maximum benefit from this shotgun, you will need to have the buff procced, which is done by killing an enemy. To get Cascade Point in the mix, you need to kill an enemy with a different weapon and then swap within the timing window of a few seconds. So to fully maximize Cascade Point, you need to kill with a different weapon, then switch to the shotgun, then kill another target, and then start shooting the target that you actually want to push a bunch of damage into. With Cascade Point only lasting 3 seconds here, the opportunity to get a maximum effect Cascade Point burst is quite difficult. Now, there's nothing wrong with simply activating Cascade without the buff, and I imagine many people will just opt for that, sacrificing the exotic effect for simply pumping out a bunch of damage. My feelings on that are Cascade Point shotguns already exist. So I want to try to maximize the uptime of the exotic perk of this shotgun. Otherwise, why am I using this shotgun over other shotguns? I get that you can utilize both the exotic and Cascade Point interchangeably though, but doing both at the same time is not that great of a process, and it's a little tough to do. That being said, it's still Cascade Point. It's still very capable of some nice burst damage. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Repulsor Breaks makes a lot of sense. You're going to be weakening targets quite a lot, killing them, which makes an overshield for you. But if you're running with what I primarily tested, no backup plans using Titan, a shotgun kill already makes an overshield for you, so you will not need Repulsor Brace. It does have synergy with primarily void-based builds or anything that benefits from having an overshield, and I think I would probably opt for it in quite a lot of cases, as I feel the reload speed of the weapon is already pretty good. Plus, you can just mod in some reload speed if you really want more. Which brings us to Stats for All and Loose Change. I know Stats for All does more than provide reload speed, but I don't really value the other stats as much in PvE when I can position myself pretty freely. Reload speed's never bad, but considering that you can mod some of it into your armor if you really want it, I don't know how much of a hurry I'm in to grab more of it. But it's an option that you will rarely need to actually think about, especially Loose Change. So if you just want some reload speed and you just want to call it a day there, I wouldn't blame you. In terms of PvP, I didn't play with it myself, but I've heard familiar feedback from my PvP friends. It's a fun thing to mess around with, but you're probably not going to be taking off your Deadlock or your Prophet of Doom or your Matador 64 for this thing anytime soon. So that's Slayer's Fang, a pretty fun weapon where shotguns are allowed to shine. I enjoy using it when I'm not taking things too seriously. It's fun to bop things in the head for over 100,000 damage when I'm just chilling, playing some Onslaught or whatever I'm doing. But beyond that, I think your results will vary. Let me know how you're feeling about this thing. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. You may have been hearing about a certain controversy with Destiny recently about perk waiting, dungeon farming, random rolls, all that kind of stuff. Today, I just want to explain the events that have unfolded over the past week or so that you kind of know, what's going on. This all started with Vesper's Host, the new dungeon, specifically the first encounter. The VS Chill Inhibitor Stasis Grenade Launcher drops from this encounter, and this first encounter is very easy to farm. So people started farming for this grenade launcher, looking for a roll of Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch, which is a very good roll of the weapon, arguably the best weapon roll that you can get, if not top 3. You've probably seen things like Cascade Bait, or Envious Explosive Light, or maybe you are one of the very lucky few who have seen this grenade launcher drop with that perk combination. Either way, people were getting really annoyed that this perk combination just did not seem to be dropping at all, using websites like light.gg to try to prove their point. The reason they use light.gg is because light.gg posts the top 8 most common rolls that people have in their inventory under a certain set of rules to try to build a cheat sheet, a quick look at what kind of weapon rolls people are keeping in their inventory to guide those as to what they should of rules to try to build a cheat sheet, a quick look at what kind of weapon rolls people are keeping in their inventory to guide those as to what they should be looking for. And mysteriously missing from this top 8 is a roll of Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch. Does that mean that people think this perk combination is not worth keeping? Well, in most circumstances, yes. Most other weapons, I'd say the overwhelming majority of them, tend to be very accurate in terms of what the best rolls of a weapon are and what people are actually keeping. And it is almost unheard of to have one of the best perk combinations not even be in the top 8. So for something like this to happen means that this grenade launcher with this combination is either very bad, which it isn't, or incredibly rare, which it seems to be. Why would this perk combination be so rare? Well, people initially confronted Bungie and said that they were weighing the perk pool on this weapon in a way that this perk combination would be insanely rare, which Bungie hasn't really ever done, nor have they ever spoken about it. So Bungie came out and said that they do not intentionally weigh the perk drop rates on weapons at all. This is just not something that they do, and I see very little reason for Bungie to lie about something such as that. Attunement, like on exotic class items, is a bit of a different system. So, what is going on? Well, people dug in a bit deeper and have found the following. It appears, potentially dating back several seasons, although right now it seems like the current theory is that it started with Final Shape, is that Bungie's supposed random perk rolls may not be so random after all, although it's maybe not that the perks are weighted, but rather that the formula that Bungie uses to seed the RNG to determine perk combinations is flawed. It is possible that the code was written in a way that seemingly generates a random seed, but actually results in something different, like what we're seeing now. In the API, perks are listed in a pretty specific order, and websites like d2foundry.gg use this information to make their charts of weapons. The perks aren't just there in whatever order that D2Foundry felt like putting them in, they're pulled in that order from the API. And what people started to find was that the further away, for lack of a better term, the further away perks were from each other in the grid, the less often they would roll together. Mossy Max, who does a lot of spreadsheet type work for the game, number crunching, posted this image of Truth Teller, which is a Void Special Ammo GL that re-released recently with no consensus god roll. It's a pretty meh weapon, so in reality, there shouldn't be any sort of specific trend line at all. And yet there is a very distinct pattern in what perk combinations are showing up in people's inventories and which are not. If there is no perk weighting, then there's no reason for Stats for All and DZ, aka Danger Zone, should be so much more common than Stats for All and CA or Collective Action. And yet it is, especially since Stats for All and Collective Action, in my opinion, is a better combination. And if we look on D2 Foundry, you'll see that Stats for All and Danger Zone are right next to each other, aka a perk distance of 0. Threat Detector is 1 perk distance away, slightly less common. Harmony is 2, less common again. And Collective Action is 3 away, incredibly uncommon. And then Disruption Break is 2 away because it wraps around. It's not technically 4 away. And then Repulsor Brace is 1 away, more common. And in fact, there are more copies of it than with Danger Zone because Repulsor is a more desirable perk, so people probably want to keep it. But also 0 and 1 distance away is relatively the same. And I don't mean to single out Mossy Max as like the sole person to discover this. They're just one of the first people to post that I actually saw. There are a ton of others who are making spreadsheets and charts and extra reading material and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to put them all in the description of this video. Light.gg now has a tool to look at all perk combinations across all weapons instead of just the top 8. And as you scroll, at least for recent seasons, you're going to keep seeing this checkerboard pattern and this gradient pattern. Ancient Gospel does have an outlier in Repulsor Brace and Explosive Payload, which is 3 apart, but it's craftable. So if we ignore that, the pattern still kind of holds the same. And again, in just continuing to scroll, we keep seeing this pattern over and over and over again. Maybe not on every single item in the game, but certainly a lot. And the main reason this probably hasn't been discovered for this long is for multiple potential reasons. Number 1 is crafting. We've only had crafting for a couple of years, but crafting eliminates the RNG factor completely for getting weapon rolls, and the community has only been getting smarter and smarter since we've had weapon crafting with new tools to use at their disposal. This kind of analysis simply wasn't happening way back when, at least to the scale that it is today, if this has been a problem since a very long time ago. And number 2 and 3 are ease of farming and no double perks. This is a god roll weapon from an encounter that's very easy to do and very quick to do, which is relatively uncommon. Think of previous god rolls that people have wanted recently. Cold Comfort is from the first and final encounter in Ghost of the Deep, which for the average player is a bit more monotonous, but it has a perk distance of 0, so it's actually pretty common. So someone should tell my account that. Cataphract is from Trials, but I'm pretty sure Saint sold an Envious and Bait and Switch roll at some point, or not sold it, but it was in the rep track, although it did have a distance of 3. Before that, maybe Wendigo from GMs, also not the easiest thing to go grind for the average player, but also had easier perk roll chances if this whole theory is true. Otherwise, it's been mostly crafted weapons, or maybe some Brave Arsenal weapons, which were just dropping all the time, and had double perks, which I'll talk about in a second. Last season, Iron Banner's Multimach had attrition orbs and kinetic tremors, another role that people were hunting, with no double perks and not craftable. The perk distance on this, also 3. Multi-perk weapons seem to have dodged this issue, or at least it's much harder to track down on multi-perk weapons. So for 2 seasons in a row, we've had 2 weapons with perks that are a distance of 3 apart, that are not craftable, that have no double perk opportunities, that aren't that bad to farm. And, you know, Iron Banner, I get it. All right. This is what got people to notice and start digging. Very recently, the day that I'm writing this script, maybe even the day that I released this video, Bungie has posted again and said that they have confirmed that there is no intentional perk weighting on weapons, but are now investigating potential issues in their code for how RNG perks are generated on weapons, and thanked all of the people collecting this data, including Light.gg, who basically made this tool overnight as a way to source a lot of this data. Random in computers isn't ever truly random. If you work with computers or coding, you probably know that. It's important to note that this is not a players versus Bungie situation. This is a players and Bungie versus the problem situation. I have very little reason to believe that Bungie would intentionally have this be the system for what feels like no reason at all, and then intentionally hide it from us, but then also give smart people the tools to then figure it out. If things always felt like the situation, then maybe, but I just don't feel like it has. Again, I gotta say it every time, devs are, most of the time anyway, not intentionally trying to be malicious to people. You know, most of them anyway. Bungie doesn't appear to have been combative about this information. They've been replying pretty quickly as new information unfolds, and are now looking into the potential problem, which at this point, it seems pretty likely that there is some kind of a problem here that's just gone unnoticed until now. Whatever the final result is, I hope we get a nice developer insight article on why this situation might have happened. Even as someone who knows absolutely nothing about coding or engineering, it's always an interesting read, especially when people smarter than me can translate dev speak into English for the rest of us. How much time do I think people have maybe collectively wasted grinding uncommon perk combinations unknowingly? Well, I think that's a tough question to answer, especially because you got to think of all the god rolls that were made potentially easier to chase down as a result of this system as well. I'm guessing the two probably average out, although someone could do a more mathematical breakdown of weapons from the history of the game, odds of getting the drop back then according to this system, the duration of the encounter, then rerun the tests, but with the true odds instead. That's a project for someone who can write a Python script to run that back, or whatever programming language you would use. If you would like some additional reading, I've included another link in the description to a paper written by Niwo on this ongoing issue. I don't have much of an opinion on this situation other than what I said earlier. I don't think this was malicious at all. I don't think this was intentional. I think it was just a problem that happened to go unnoticed until very recently. Bungie seems to be taking the issue pretty seriously, and hopefully they'll have some kind of resolution to the problem very soon. I will update the description whenever Bungie updates us again on whatever the heck is going on here. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Hi everyone. Sort of elitist Datto here to talk about Salvation's Edge on both normal and contest mode. After Root of Nightmares last year, I truly thought that the idea of the hardcore having a day or now 2 days to themselves was pretty much over. While the environment and the space and the scale of Root were phenomenal.
This is a credit card sized piece of plastic, and this is a credit card sized computer. This is an ESP32S3 powered device, and the back details all the other features: Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, screen, speaker, everything like that. It also has Lego compatible mounting holes for some reason. On the side we have a Grove compatible sensor hole, and on the other side we have speaker holes and a USB port. The top has 2 buttons, a power switch, and an SD card slot. Now once we actually power this thing on, we get into a really nice app launcher that has some demos provided by the company. Now these are all super minimal. Most of them are text based, like the IR remote, which just lets you type in a literal IR command to send. If we open up the device, the inside back is just as wild as the outside back, with tons of details printed on here. I'm really not sure who this is for. It's got a weird mix of features, like the back has a huge battery and magnets in it. Like, it's cool, but without a big community, you're going to be writing whatever you use for it from scratch, which might be fine because it is really cool. And it retails for $30, so can't you? This is a credit card.
Hey, big fella.
Here you go.
Yes, sir. First try.
With all the talk going on about Chill Inhibitor and Bittersweet this episode as top GLs to farm for, I think a lot of people have forgotten about the other GL introduced this episode that is arguably just as good as Bittersweet and can be a top option for grenade launcher DPS in the game. That weapon's name is Wicked Sister. This reissued weapon instantly became the best strand GL in the game. Sorry, Cataphract, you're going in the vault to collect dust. So that begged the question, what would be a good way to utilize this weapon for a damage rotation? Specifically, I was looking to take advantage of a strand setup, and then it hit me. Euphony is a match made in heaven with any strand-based setup. For those unaware, Euphony is a strand 3-burst linear in the kinetic slot that increases its damage output based on the amount of spindle stacks which grow when hitting enemies with threadlings. This weapon itself also generates threadlings when hitting enemies as well. And since we're opting to combo Euphony with Wicked Sister, the clear option, character-wise, was going to be Warlock, as they are far and away the best class to utilize threadlings, in my opinion. Lastly, we had to make an exotic choice for the armor, and this one also became a no-brainer. Recently, Bungie buffed Sanguine Alchemy, an exotic chest piece, which increases your weapon damage based on the super you are using. Essentially, you get an X4 weapon surge to whatever super you have equipped. Keynote here, Sanguine only cares what you currently have equipped as a super and not what you may have started with. So hypothetically, if you wanted to start with Well of Radiance, pop it, then immediately switch to Strand, you would then get a X4 weapon surge on Strand for damage. Another good tip here would be, since you're using Sanguine Alchemy, you technically could put different surges on your boots in this weapon setup. So hypothetically, let's say you wanted to use Wicked Sister, but then a different energy type weapon to go with it, right? Let's say you wanted to use Supremacy, hypothetically. You could put 3x kinetic weapon surge on your boots to buff Supremacy, because Sanguine Alchemy itself will be giving you that 4x weapon surge for Strand. So you would have 2 different surges going on for a damage phase. But we ain't here for Supremacy, we're here for Strand, so let's get into the kit. So starting off, obviously our super is Needlestorm, but a quick reminder, remember that Needlestorm will make threadlings on whatever target you hit. So when you fire it at a boss, that is making threadlings for your Euphony, which will increase its damage. Going forward, nothing crazy in our abilities. We have Healing Rift, it's pretty standard. First Glide or whatever jump.
So, this is the fire department for Los Angeles.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire. You want to see
There ain't no way, she said.
you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Yeah, it's your job. They
How's it going, everyone?
I'm just saying, you know, some people do that. Like I said, it would be like a stacked team. Oh. Damn. 1 minute left. What's going on there? Only one ally is left. Damn. Only one enemy is left. Only one enemy is left. Opponent revived.
Hey, want a top-tier gaming PC? Check out StarForge. Every PC Sidearm shenanigan armor, a helmet Xur almost never sells,
It's called sarcasm!
and the Destiny version of rockin' a fanny pack. Exotic roll's not great, but definitely get either of these catalysts if you don't have them. They're both really good for PvE. Exotic class armor available today, by the way. Hawkmoon today is okay. We also got the best looking SMG in the game, the used to be the only thing anyone used, and the dull Inkaru farming weapon. Weapon-wise, nothing. Absolutely nothing. If anyone tells you any of these weapons are god rolls, throw room temperature water onto their pants and shout, "Everybody look, this motherfucker peed himself!" Eternity's Edge is okay, I guess. Armor-wise, Warlock could use a bit more mobility, I think. Titans have a decent helmet, and Hunters do too. As always, pick up whatever you don't have, or if the rules better than what you got, like, comment, so peace.
Physically unable to use the tools to keep people safe. You will do it for them. Power draw on that anomaly is far beyond safe limits. Dark energy shouldn't be that color.
Loading images of the station. That's not LXV engineering. Enough! The track past the first vault has better cable management.
Dr. Bray intended to integrate his technology into a Vex mind. He hypothesized that fusion would give him an interface he understood. Control on a programmable Vex mind. Programming jumped species once. I need time to run through the datasets you powered back up. Reassembling corrupted output takes a great deal of processing. Power draw on that anomaly is far beyond safe limits. Dark energy shouldn't be that color.
express herself, so...
Checking now. Transfer. Descend to the heart of the temple. You're looking for one of the Queen's Techians. Tech witches, you Guardians call them. Her name is Sadia. She was taken, but she can be saved. Her will is not her own. Grant her the mercy that she cannot grant you.
witch. Remember, we're here to save her. get us to the bottom of the temple. Come on. There she is. Let's bring her back to the light.